Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Prevails, a Grand Arena story. Today is the finals for 3v3 week 1 and that's exciting, but first I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. Really appreciate you guys and your support of this channel and everything. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Today is the finals of the first week of 3v3, faced off against a dude named Adam, which is the least original name in the world, being as it's the very first name ever for humans, if you believe that level of theology anyways. And they have a really strong roster. They have a REY, Galactic REY, and it's a good test for 3v3. I've been doing pretty well so far, 2-0. Want to see how it's going to go. So, looking at our stats, my opponent has better tier 7 relics than me. Big surprise. Being sarcastic, that's not surprising. That's been happening a lot lately. I do have an advantage in Zetas, though at this point it's not really that huge of an advantage. And then our mods are actually very similar. I hold a slight advantage, but nothing crazy. In terms of high-end speed mods. Our overall success in Grand Arena, my opponent has a pretty respectable score, 251k to my 301k, and yeah, they have a ton of undersized wins though over me. That it's going to be a tricky match. So I wasn't sure. I wanted, honestly, when I looked at his deployment, I wanted to see Galactic REY front and center because I didn't want to have the uncertainty of if she was in the back or not. I wanted to just deal with her and move on, and that was not the option given to me. Instead, there's a bunch of pretty strong teams. There's some Gear 12 mixed in there, but for the most part, we have Nest, we have Geonosians, a bunch of Night Sisters, Nute, all sorts of good 3v3 teams. So before I could attack, I took those screenshots. My opponent actually attacked and took out my front zone and 4 other teams, and then just stopped. So I couldn't outweight them or anything, so it was time to attack. I needed to make the decision. So I am going to talk for a minute about my decision-making process. That's something I feel like I've been shortchanging you guys about. That's an important part of the Grand Arena experience, so to speak. It's hard to do it on a phone, so we'll see what we can do. The dominant factor here is I need to make sure I save my Supreme Leader Kylo to take out REY in the back. I was tempted to use him to solo this General Grievous squad, decided that if they have REY in the back, it was going to give me a ton of headaches. So instead of doing that, I decided I needed to use some pretty strange counters here. I wanted to use Commander Luke here to take out these clones. Barriss made it tough, but she's only Gear 12, and I figured I could probably one-shot her right off the bat. Beyond that, I could use my Kylo Ren with Watt to take out the Night Sisters. The General Grievous squad was tricky. I originally was going to go with my Jedi Knight Revan and decided that for multiple reasons I wanted to leave that team available. One of those is I didn't have Jolie with me, so I couldn't revive, and that team becomes way less strong if you don't have Jolie there available. It probably still would have worked. I could have even used Basti Lead. I don't know, but I did want to, I needed to use something to take him out. I didn't have clones, so decided to try Padme out. One final factor to all of this, I wanted to use Padme here because if they did have General Skywalker in the back, it meant that I would probably need to use Supreme Leader Kylo to beat him, and then use multi-shot attempts to take out their REY using Jedi Knight Revan, and you can't do that with Padme. So Padme was the odd man out, so to speak, and that's what we have. Let's just jump into the fights now. So let's freeze frame for just 1 second here. The goal here, we have to take out Barriss first, or she's going to make it impossible to kill anyone. After that, we want to take out Rex, and that will kill Fives. He'll sacrifice himself, and then the goal is to stun Rex and then just kill him, even though he has all of the health and protection and stuff that Fives did. I wasn't counting on Barriss living for as long as she did, so that was annoying. And then, of course, Rex was protected by Fives' taunt, and he was able to get his Annihilate off on Chewie pretty quick. And honestly, after that, I was just happy to be able to get the kill here. So we did get the kill, happy enough with 50 banners there. It didn't go perfectly to plan. And Barriss, if she's higher relic, we probably don't try Commander Luke there at all. But now this is a counter I've never really used in 3v3. We're using Padme here. I don't have General Kenobi available. He's on defense, actually alongside Jolie. And so what we have to do, we have to take out B1, or rather B2 first, and so we're trying to do that. We don't have anyone with super crazy resilience except for every character, because Padme is frankly extremely stupidly resilient and makes her team that way. But we have to take out B2 first, otherwise B2 gets a ton of turns and he dispels all of our shenanigans, all of our stacks of protection, and then we don't get courage, and then we don't have the courage to face General Grievous and take him out. So now that B2 is gone, a lot of the threat is removed, and we can just take out B1 and bide our time until we can build up enough courage on someone to be able to one-shot General Grievous, or we can sometimes just try to foolishly hit him and before we have enough stacks, and then force the taunt on B1. That's always an option. So I probably should have just been focusing B1 from the very start and letting General Grievous take a couple turns here and there. As it stands, we're still in okay shape here. Really what I wanted to do, I wanted to have the option to have Padme target General Grievous and kick him to stun him, because he can't dispel that stun. And I finally did that at the very end, but it was kind of like, I probably could have saved myself some grief there. 51 is fine there, though. Now this counter, I'm using my Kylo Ren and First Order Executioner with Watt. And, that's a pretty great counter to Night Sisters here. You see that First Order Executioner can just take out whoever. I have the weapons tech on him, so Daka can't revive her, can't revive anyone who has been taken out by Executioner. All of their hits have to be funneled in through Kylo Ren unmasked. And the only thing I don't like about this particular match, it's nothing about how well we do against these characters. It has everything to do with the fact that I don't have Watt available to be able to two-man his Rey in the back if she's there. That's a pretty big sacrifice, frankly. So 54 banners as expected, and I was happy enough with that result. Of course, in the back, you can see that my opponent had a Emperor Palpatine, Basti, Malak squad, just like I do. And then they also have Rey with her Shining Fist of Justice available. So I was happy that I saved Supreme Leader Kylo. And so here's just in terms of decision making, there were three real obvious ones I had right away. So there's Geonosians up top. We can use Traya and Sion on them. Jedi Knight Revan is going to be necessary to take out that Palpatine team. And I decided I probably needed to use General Skywalker there as well. And then, of course, Supreme Leader Kylo against Rey. That was the whole reason. And then after that, I could puzzle out the rest. Sometimes it's better just to chip away at, you do the obvious ones first. Once you get the obvious ones done, then you can start worrying about everything else. And, when the goal is to full clear, regardless of what happens, it becomes pretty easy to determine which squads to use initially. And then you can just see what you have, especially in 3v3 where you have a ton of squads and a ton of options. This is probably my favorite way. Just take the obvious ones and move along. Alright, so jumping into the first one, this one was the most obvious. I'm saving Nihilus because he's not necessary for this team, especially I have Relic 3 on both of my Sith here, and really the only Geonosian we have to worry about. I mean, Geonosian Brood Alpha is relict, but their Spy is only Gear 12, and we kind of have to worry about Spy, but Gear 13 is where Spy really gets a lot of his hitting power. So, we're saving Nihilus because he's going to be instrumental for another team, hopefully. Maybe not, but it's nice to have that option. And really, we're just waiting. You put Isolate on the Brute, and I was able to take out Spy with a saber throw, and this presented almost no challenge. There was only one, I guess two Geonosians, since there's 4 total. There's only one or two that have relics, and so it was easy enough to take out Sunfac as well. And now we're just waiting. It takes a little bit of time to try and take out the Brood Alpha. He does have a lot of hit points, and especially we have Isolate on the Brute, so they're not calling assists, they're just healing at themselves. And for a little bit I was kind of concerned, like I hope that we're going to be able to kill the Brood Alpha, but I mean, it just takes a little bit of time. Luckily, I wasn't super weak, Gear 12 or something like that, and 54 banners is pretty good. Traya can't revive her protection, Sion can, so we did pretty good. The next match was REY, and I didn't have my Watt here, so what I did, I took First Order Officer and Thrawn, and the goal here is just to give REY, or rather Kylo, so much turn meter that he keeps doing his specials, and he can get enough stacks of Siphon that he eventually becomes unkillable by REY. So my other 2 characters are almost certainly going to die, but if I can get my Siphon stacks up past 100, REY is going to have a really tough time killing Supreme Kylo, and especially because I was able to get Fracture off on her. She's not really building up, she's not really able to hit me that much, and I can build myself up quite a bit. I have my ultimate ready here. I wasn't sure when to use it. Frankly, I didn't really need to use it. And so I probably held on to it for way longer than I probably should have. You can see I'm debating what to do here. Should I use my ultimate? Should I not? Eventually did use my ultimate. Didn't actually kill her or even really come that close to it. But yeah, she's going to have a lot of difficulty trying to take me out, and I'm pretty sure, I've seen a lot of videos. I've seen my buddy Klesso do it. You can take out Ultimate REY with this strategy as well. You need to make sure you get your ultimate up, or you can get your ultimate up the second she gets hers up, but 46 is not the greatest banners at all. It's the worst, actually, but it's the worst for a one-shot, and that's all you need. So next match is against this Palpy Bastila Malak team, and I wanted to take no chances. This team is really strong, and so I just took all my good Jedi. I didn't really need them for anything else. We're not trying to solo anything with General Skywalker if he has a more serious target in mind. And the first target was Bastila because she can make our lives hell. She can debuff us and make it so we can't ever take turns. Palpatine actually isn't as big a threat because we can have tenacity up a lot. And I know that Bastila is also, we can ignore her with tenacity up as well. But if she can sneak it in on 1 or 2 characters, that's a pretty big deal. So, best to just take her out. Palpatine, the worst he can do is stun us, and Jedi Revan actually can't be stunned anyways, and then he can do his little saber twirly toss thing and get everyone's debuffs off, even though that will mean a whole nother round of the Sith taking a lot of turns because they build turn meter off of those debuffs being dispelled. It's still, that was probably my best line of defense, and now we're just waiting for the opportunity to get some real hits in with Anakin. He kept getting feared from Malak. Eventually got some hits in, and 52 banners is pretty good. So all of the really scary teams are off the board now, and there's still some problematic squads, of course, and what we can do here, this Nest team, I didn't really have a ton of options to take out Nest, so decided to go for Jedi Training REY here. Jedi Training REY deals with Nest well. She deals with Count Dooku well because we can daze Dooku pretty well. This Jango could be problematic, but he's only Gear 12, and Gear 12 is just frankly not nearly as scary as 13, especially with Jango. My guys are Gear 13. They're not high relic yet, but they can take a couple hits for sure. So the goal here now is we don't want to get retaliated or countered, I guess, to death by Nest. So what we're doing here, I'm trying to get Illuminated Destiny ready. And I actually think this was a mistake. I probably, early on in this match, I probably should have just had BB-8 hit Nest once, either as an assist from Jedi Training REY, or just doing a basic. And the reason why is BB-8 can put tenacity down on Nest, and then once that happens, then we can stun Nest. This Nest had really high tenacity, so probably wasn't going to get many debuffs off on her, though really R2 is providing a ton of extra potency, so maybe I could actually get it off. And now that Nest is stunned, we can't do any damage to her, so what we're doing is we're just going to do basics here. We want to, I did want to charge my Illuminated Destiny a little, so that's why I set her on fire, and now we're just waiting. Now that she takes a turn, she didn't actually go because she was stunned, so R2 would have gone next, and he wouldn't have actually done much damage to her, so he just popped smoke and deferred the turn, gave it to REY, and now REY was able to kill Nest, so easy enough win there. This is one misstep here, that these bounty hunters provided a target that I just didn't want to ignore. I probably should have. Once Bossk got his taunt off, I knew that the attempt was foolish. Instead, I went with my initial plan. I don't know why. I even had plans. I fully intended to use this team anyways, or use at least a Nihilus variant, and instead I was like, oh, troopers probably work, and I jumped in without much thought, and that's what happened. So failed that, as we all do at times, and now the goal is, our Stormtrooper Han, the only way they can dispel us is with Boba's Execute, and he can do that, I guess. He didn't really do it this time. For the first time ever, Stormtrooper Han's ability block, or rather his taunt, expired naturally. So once we got the Annihilate off on Bossk, then it was on like Donkey Kong. Apparently Donkey Kong is always on. I don't understand that reference, actually, besides the rhyme. I would love to know what the origin of that is, if it's more than just a rhyme. So let me know if you deign me worthy of that knowledge. But this match is pretty straightforward. I just wanted Vader as a lead to increase a few stats here, and provide some ability to spread the damage out. If I put a weaker lead, then he'd probably end up dying. Now I have Jedi or Darth Revan remaining. He doesn't have his Bastila or Malak, but Marauder and HK are both relicked and everything. So you put fear on Nute. And really, eventually my hope was I'd get Deathmark on Nute. That did happen, so I could just one-shot him. And now the hope is that we can take out Droideka before he gets a big hit off. But then, of course, Relic 6 Magna Guard is just hanging out, taunting, being obnoxious. And luckily, I was able to take out Droideka before he did get a turn. He was pretty slow, so 52 banners there. And I'm taking these squads out pretty quick. I initially thought maybe I'd use Darth Revan against that Night Sisters team. I had a better option, though. First, I wanted to use Nest to solo this Bastila team, and it can be a little nerve-wracking. I did speed it up because it takes a while to do this. The thing is, you have to make sure that Nest can't be one-shot by anyone, and my Relic 7 Nest is pretty resilient, honestly. You know, some pretty good mods on her, and really what she does, she just builds damage forever. You know, if there's Jolie on this team, you don't want to do this because she builds a lot of crit damage, and she can't crit Jolie, and therefore she just stays with them in perpetuity. But against this squad, we absolutely can crit them, so you know, either we're gonna counter or we're just going to do enough basics to finally take her out. There's really not much rhyme or reason to this counter other than, you know, that Bastila and Hoda are giving each other a ton of buffs, and that gives my hitting power more and more power. So eventually, you know, Nest is going to be able to just one shot, and you know, I put it on basic for a while because that was all that was needed. Eventually, as you see, I chewed through Bastila's huge amount of protection and got the win. And now I only have one team left. I saved my bounty hunters, and this should be a pretty easy fight. You've already seen it if you've watched all my other episodes this season. I've used this against the cheese, the Night Sister cheese. The one factor here that's different is Talzin lead makes it so that if you kill Talzin and then Acolyte keeps taking turns, then Talzin is going to keep coming back and hitting you. So you want to use Jango if he has his unique. You want to use Jango to execute him or her so that she doesn't keep coming back. And Acolyte actually ended up just kind of dying from incidental things. This is a pretty weak version of that zombie Acolyte cheese. And there we go. We cleared all ground zones pretty quick, and now we have 6-star Malevolence, and if we can take care of business here. My opponent had failed one time against one of the squads, which I'll show you shortly. If I could handle business here, then it'd make it almost impossible for my opponent to beat me, regardless of what they had left. So what we're doing here, I took 5s in the starting lineup instead of Ahsoka, and we're just trying to focus down Sunfac. And Sunfac is pretty easy. He's only gear 12, and so you know, if we can take him out, 5s eventually was able to get a big shot off with his AoE because everyone had target lock from the AoE from Negotiator. Now we've just got to chew through the hyena. And we don't want to forget which vulture droid was the original one, because we do have to take him out as well eventually. And really, the first reinforcement is always going to be Plo, because the initial burst of buzz droids from this droid team, Malevolence team, is really strong, and we don't want buzz droids. That's really the power, the offensive power behind this team. We don't want to get them started. So every time we can dispel them, we want to. Now, one twist of this is they took the Millennium Falcon here. And the Millennium Falcon is great for timing you out, because what he'll do is he'll make it so you can't target him unless you have taken everyone out, and the Malevolence just keeps growing vulture droids over and over again. So you have to kill vulture droids and more vulture droids and more. And once they're all dead, then you have to take out the Falcon, who is dodgy as hell. And so it can be quite frustrating at times. I did manage to land a bombing run on them, and so the Millennium Falcon eventually imploded, and I got 62 banners. So that's what you get for putting Malevolence on defense, just like how I put Malevolence on defense as well. So pretty okay score considering the fail with troopers there. And I wasn't sure what my opponent had left. They needed a 55, 55, 55 on my 3 remaining ground squads and a 66 on ships to tie me. They did not get that, and in fact they failed to clear me. My Asajj team remained unscathed. So 2 battles against Asajj before they gave it up. 4 against my Hux, which was the other remaining team of the 3 that were originally remaining. My front zone all got taken out. I'm sad. The veteran smuggler team finally got one shot, so it's not this transcendent defensive team. And then the original team that had gotten taken out that gave me confidence moving in was these clones, just Rex clones. Well, I guess it's 5 lead, but 5's kind of provides a little bit of a surprise to people because they don't know what his lead does. I encourage you to read it. It's nothing too fancy though. And I got the win. So we're at 3-0, and I stayed right beneath the line to get into Chromium. You see I'm 25 banners short, and I've saved a feat just to make sure that I didn't get into Chromium. Didn't want to get paired with a bunch of other people, all these tryhards in Chromium. Not the most fun. None of us would enjoy ourselves. Other people would enjoy themselves at our expense, and I just didn't feel like doing that. So instead, we're in good shape. I've done all the feats, done everything okay, at least. I doubt I'm in contention for top 10, but it's been a good run so far. 3-0, and 3v3 will only get harder, of course. I'm sure that I'll get a couple Galactic Legends a couple times, so you guys can look forward to me struggling against that, I'm sure. And otherwise, guys, I think I'm just going to let you go here. It's been a late night. We just got the podcast done, so you guys can listen to that if you like. And so thank you guys so much for watching. And remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails. Even in 3v3, who knew?